Just a few years ago, I was skinny, anxious, and I had no idea what I was doing in the gym. Now, I've built some serious size and put on over 20 pounds of muscle. Back then, I was completely lost, but luckily, I found my way. The problem is, these days, there's so much clutter on social media that it's very hard to find exactly what you need to do. Social media is optimized to get your attention, whatever gets the most clicks, whatever gets the most views, not what's going to provide you the most amount of value, not what's going to be tailored towards your goals and accomplishing what you want and what you need. So in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what worked for me, what I think about doing a clean bulk versus a dirty bulk, and how to actually eat for size without overcomplicating things. So listen, the most popular advice, and I know it's garbage, but the most popular advice that I see is either one, you got to eat super clean. You got to eat, all the lean meats, all of the unprocessed foods, fish, like steaks, nothing overly processed, no sauces. I've seen keto, carnivore diets. That's one end of the extreme. And on the other end of the extreme, we have dirty bulking. We have mukbanging fucking 5,000 calories of KFC. We have crushing 12 beers in one day. We have all this kind of extreme stuff on one side, and we have, the very lean stuff on the other side. Now, these two pieces of information are going to get the most views because they're the most, polarizing. They're the most clickable. They're the most intriguing. First off, I got to start off with saying I don't agree with either side of the spectrum at all. So this side, it's way too regimented. It's way too clean. You're going to dedicate way too much energy and resources into, trying to find that clean diet. It's going to be a detriment to your life. It's going to be a detriment to your wallet. On top of that, you're most likely not going to be getting enough calories if you only eat the leanest meats, if you're only eating, no carbs, carnivore diet, keto, whatever it is. This side of the spectrum is not only bad for your goals in terms of gaining muscle mass, but on top of that, it's just such a huge time, energy, and money dump. And on top of that, it's going to degrade your quality of life. If you're always trying to avoid carbs, if you're always trying to eat, lean meats only, it's going to be hard to live life normally, especially if you're traveling, you're going out with friends, you're doing these kind of different things. On the other side of the spectrum, of course, I disagree with, mukbanging 5,000 calories of KFC. I disagree with, slamming 12 beers, to get those, 2,000 calories. There's a time and place for, junk foods. There's a time and place for fast foods, and we're going to go over that. But what I want to say is that it should not be, the main source of your calories and your protein and your nutrients. And it definitely shouldn't be the only source of it. Remember, you are what you eat. So if you're constantly only eating, this kind of garbage, then it's going to reflect in your health and in your body. You're going to become fat. You're going to have different kinds of health issues. If you're eating too much fried foods, you're going to get really oily. Your face is going to have pimples. If you're drinking too much pop, soda, that's going to have a whole bunch of issues as well. These are artificially processed foods. They're not going to be healthy for you in the long run. You're going to pay the price. You're going to pay the health cost of indulging in these kind of foods sooner rather than later. So what's the solution? What kind of regimen do I recommend? What do I suggest that you do? If we want to make that, skinny to muscular transformation, we want to gain weight, we want to put on significant amounts of muscle, we need to forget about, carnivore, keto, eating clean. That's not important. And it's not going to help us. That's not important. And that's not going to help us in terms of getting towards our goals. Instead, what we need to focus on is eating foods that have lots of protein, have lots of carbs, and are relatively healthy so that we can eat, a lot of it. So think of our rice and chicken, our pasta, those bread and butter foods that I cover over and over again. These are the kind of foods that are going to really accelerate our growth and help us build that consistent base and help us build that muscular base that we want to have. If you consistently eat these foods in a caloric surplus, you will see success. You don't need to regiment yourself in terms of being extremely clean or anything like that. It's not going to help you when it comes to bulking up. It doesn't really play that much of a role. Especially if you train hard, you don't need to worry about the fat. Now let me cover the other side of the spectrum. Fast food, snacks, sugary things that are generally considered junk food or unhealthy. Can they play a role in your growth? Absolutely yes, they can. But it's not the only thing we're eating. We want it to be 80% healthy, calorie-dense, high-protein foods like rice and chicken, pasta. We want that to be at least 80% of our diet. And over here, we have the remaining 20% of our diet. We have, KFC. We have, maybe the unhealthier snacks, maybe cookies, cake, desserts, McDonald's, whatever it is. We can have a little bit of the unhealthy stuff to help push the calorie counter up while not making it our main nutrition, our main source of protein and calories. The purpose that they serve is that this is a good tasting and efficient way to gain a little bit more calories, gain a little bit more protein into your diet. That's the purpose of, these kind of foods. It's okay, to have KFC, if you're eating enough protein, if you're eating enough calories, it's okay to have that once in a while to push up those numbers, get those extra calories in, especially, after a heavy workout, after a heavy leg day, get those extra calories, get that little bit of extra protein. It's okay to, McDonald's used to be a really good option. The mayo sandwich in Canada, we call it junior chicken. I think in the UK, they call it like chicken mayo or something. I think everywhere has something similar to that. It used to be a really good option. I can't recommend McDonald's anymore though, because it's just way too expensive. So these kind of foods though, there's, like those fast foods, those little mayo sandwiches with chicken, highly dense calories, decent amount of protein, KFC, they can help once in a while. I use KFC a lot because it's what's popular here in Asia. I don't know. I think maybe in Canada it's like Popeyes or Osmo's shawarma or something. But the purpose of these foods is that they serve to add on a little bit of extra calories. They add a bit of more protein. They add a bit more just mass to your body. They push the envelope a little bit more. They also taste good, so it's easier to, put away more of it. The better it tastes, the more you can eat, especially if it's more novel. If you eat this twice a day, and then you come to KFC, only 2 times a week, you're more likely to eat more of it because it's more novel. It tastes better. It's a similar idea with snacks as well. They also push the envelope. You're adding more calories. You're giving yourself more energy to work with when you eat more sugars. It's okay to have these kind of foods. It's okay to have these snacks, as long as we're keeping it at 20% or less of our caloric intake. It's not just about being super clean on this side of the spectrum or dirty bulk mukbang on this side of the spectrum. It's somewhere closer to the middle. Anyways, guys, I'm planning on making a document of, maybe some of the best foods to have while on a bulk, the best meals, and along with maybe some of the best snacks to have. So hopefully I'll have that out soon. Stick around so you can catch that. Subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. Like the video if you did. Comment your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know if you've been dirty bulking, if you've been eating extremely clean. Feel free to ask any questions. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.